Hi, I'm James the Light Guy, and today we're going to take a look at a set of 3-inch LED pod lights from Lasfit. If you'd like to get them for yourself, I'll put a link in the video description below. In this box, we're going to get 2 3-inch pods, 2 pigtails, and mounting hardware and brackets for both. These are available in 4 beam patterns: high beam, fog, flood, and spot. The high beam or driving beam pattern and fog beam pattern are SAE approved. Getting into the box, here are those pigtails. We have our connector with a good sealing silicone ring, a depressible retaining clip, some strain relief. It's not super flexible here, that's a bit of a harder plastic, a thick wire sheath, and our positive and negative wires, which have both been tinned already. Next, we have our brackets. These appear to be punched steel plate that has been powder coated. I like the little aesthetic touches they've done. Not bad. And our bag of miscellaneous hardware for mounting them up. All that's left are our lights. Let's pull them out. And take a look. I'm going to prop this one up so it looks pretty. There we go. All right, starting at the connector end, we have the female version of that connector. It has a softer plastic here with a silicone, feels like a silicone, over-molded piece here with very nice strain relief to the cord. The cord is again that thick rubber sheath, but is incredibly flexible. Where it connects into the housing, we have a small strain relief and seal here that should prevent any moisture ingress, as well as a vent to deal with pressure differences as the inside of this heats up and cools down repeatedly, cycling in use. This beautiful cast aluminum heatsink is powder coated black. I really like the aesthetic here. The varying heights and lengths of the fins seems to allow for a great surface area for cooling. And looking at the lens here, you can see that up and down you only barely get to see those LED chips inside. But lining up, let's say the top row there, you can see that yellow chip all the way from left to right. That should give us a narrow, wide beam pattern for fog. This front plate appears to be held on with 2 screws in the front and an additional 2 screws in the back. So let's quickly zip that off and see what we have inside. All right, pulling off our front plate, we can see that it is also cast and machined aluminum, powder coated black. Has Lasfit's logo on it, and this nice little visor on top, very aesthetically pleasing. Next, we have our polycarbonate front lens. stamped with its SAE certification there. Let's push those screws out the back. Oh, and there's our thick rubber O-ring or gasket. Very soft and flexible. Once that faceplate gets squeezed on, that should make a fantastic seal, and it goes around every bolt, so each bolt hole is not a source of ingress of moisture into the light. And now we have our primary culminating lenses, which are held on by a center bolt. Let's pull that out. There we see our lenses held up by a single standoff, and the sides each have a notch. Now, to prevent you from putting this in the wrong way and messing up the beam pattern, 3 of the sides are this half circle indent, and the bottom is more of a triangular notch, which lines up with this raised ridge here. But taking a look at its innards, we see we have 4 9-watt LED chips and the rest of the driver components. A few diodes, some resistors, a little MOSFET looking thing. It's pretty nice. And you can see around the back here, if I use this as a pointer, you can see that we have some heatsink compound helping to thermally paste that and help with the heat exchange to the thermal mass in the back. And you can see here that we have potting on the back of that gasket with strain relief to make sure that no moisture gets in there. Very well done. All right, let's put this aside for a moment and take a look at the one that we haven't taken apart. Now, as we said, there are the included pigtails. For an additional cost, you can order a full harness available from Lasfit. Here's the part number on that. And that comes with the same connectors, a separate connector and disconnector from the harness, a relay, the positive and negative connections for the battery, and the switch to turn them on and off. So you don't have to wire anything yourself if you don't want to. But for our test, we're just going to use the included pigtail. This simply just slides in and clicks to lock. And we'll grab our power supply and hook up these connections. Let's widen our camera view. Push this off to the side. All right, we have everything out of the way. Let's power this on. You see at 14.4 volts, we are drawing about 2.6 amps. That's going to drop down to around 2.5 as it reaches a thermal equilibrium, and that will give us roughly 36 watts of power consumption. Looking at the beam pattern, you can see that narrow, wide band. And turning off the studio lights, you can see that it is very intense. Let's spin it around. Keeping it low, you can see that we do have a little bit of light overcast. Let's see if we can adjust our brightness down. But bringing it up, we hit our top lights and then our bottom lights. Let's bring the voltage all the way down. All right, we're down at 5.5 volts and a few milliamps, 50 milliamps. Here you can see the lower pair of LEDs and then the higher pair of LEDs. And from left to right, we get that beam pattern for a long way, but up and down, it cuts off very quick. All right, let's bring them back up to brightness at 14.4. There we go. And we're going to spin the camera around. All right, here we have a rare opportunity to see my studio and my basement. And there you can see the beam pattern from a single pod light cast across the floor and wall, holding it relatively steady and aimed. You can see how intense it is all the way across the full beam pattern there. It is excellent. We have very little light coming off the top or bottom. Let's go for a quick walk. Leaving that there. We'll walk all the way to the far end. And it is not blinding so long as it is properly aimed. Once you get into that beam pattern, man, is it intense. And that's just one of them. In my opinion, these 3-inch pod lights are some of the best pod lights I have ever had the pleasure of testing. So I'm going to reassemble this one and probably install them on my car. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or have any recommendations for future videos. Until next time, I'm James the Light Guy.